Welcome to part 2 of the distributive property. Here we're going to be applying the distributive property with integers. And we've added a term or two that we're going to apply to. In example 1 it says use the distributive property to remove the parentheses. So what we're going to do is to remember that distributive property means that I'm going to multiply across the parentheses. So I'm going to take this negative 8, I'm going to multiply it by negative w squared, 4, and minus 2x cubed. So I'm going to rewrite this as negative 8 times negative w squared plus negative 8 times 4 minus negative 8 times negative 2x cubed. We want to put these in parentheses so that we can separate them out a little bit so we see what we have to work with here. Now I have negative 8 times negative w squared, and the letter times a variable is just the letter variable combination back. Two negatives make a positive, so it becomes 8w squared. Plus, negative 8 times 4 is negative 32. Minus negative 8 times negative 2x cubed. Negative times negative is positive, so 8 times 2 is 16. And then I just put the x cubed back. Now the one thing is I cannot put plus minus into Alex, so I have to change that. Adding the opposite, or adding a negative value, means that I'm actually subtracting. So 8w squared minus 32 minus 16x cubed. None of these are like terms, so we cannot combine. Alright, let's look at one more example here. This little negative sign says negative times negative 5u minus 3y plus 4. So I'm going to, this little negative actually means that I need to think about that as being a negative 1. So I'm going to sneak a 1 in there. Let's make that negative 1. Let me do that a little bit better here. Negative 1. Okay, and let's add the note. Just a negative sign. Equals negative 1. This is huge. This is for future reference. That little negative sign means negative 1. Okay. So now I'm going to distribute my negative 1 to each term inside the parentheses. So I end up with negative 1 times negative 5u minus negative 1 times 3y plus negative 1 times 4. Now, I'm writing all these multiplications out to understand that we have to multiply across the parentheses. We don't necessarily have to do this every time. I'm just doing it to help me track my multiplication and to help me track my positive and negative signs. Here I've got negative 1 times negative 5u, which is 5u, minus negative 1 times 3y, which is negative 3y, plus negative 1 times 4, which is negative 4. Now I can't put these minus minus and plus minuses into Alex, so minus minus becomes add the opposite, which is plus plus, keep change change, so I have 3u, or excuse me, 5u plus 3y, and then this plus minus becomes minus 4. Cannot combine these because they're not like terms, so you have to just leave them. So when we're applying the distributive property, especially with multiple terms, please remember to write out what you're multiplying so that we can simplify it down. Good luck!